London boasts some of the most brilliant and controversial architecture in the world, from the brutal concrete of the South Bank to the elegant filigree of the London Eye. Modern architectural wonders sit happily cheek by jowl alongside some of the most beautiful historic buildings in the world.
Inspired by new urban architecture, some commuters chose to export their taste for modernism to weekend homes in the country. But incorporating modern design into a rural setting is a considerable challenge.
I'm off to spend the weekend in a house in the country, designed by one of the finest exponents of this fusion of old and new, Michael Manser. It's a spectacular example of how modern architecture can blend sympathetically with more traditional rural surroundings. It's a modernist jewel.
Capel Manor is startlingly simple. It's a steel and glass box built on the site of a vast 19th century Gothic manor house. Completed in 1972, it embodies the modernist principles of extreme functionality. When combined with the traditional setting here, it makes for effortless cool.
Yeah. They're expecting something very traditional, very large, grand. And they open up for this and they are wowed. You can't help but be wowed.
The house sits on a concrete podium and is built around a frame of steel girders with cross beams supporting a lightweight timbered roof. Hollow tube columns interlock with the beams and give anchorage points for the continuous curtain of glass. Access is provided by sliding aluminium doors on each side with louver windows, a 1970s design quirk providing additional ventilation. The vast expanse of glazing, exposed steel beams and open-plan layout give the house a light and airy feel. All the rooms circulate around the central core, which makes it feel spacious and simple.
So this is a study stroke third bedroom on one of the corners of the house here. It's got a fantastic Remy Blumenfeld photo here that's been blown up, and this wonderful 1970s desk. So we go from that third bedroom down into the party pit reception area, the shag pile carpet, and over to the master bedroom, which is in the opposite corner through here. And this is this fantastic master bedroom with amazing views over the valley there. It's got these lovely fitted wardrobes, original, and also same view as me, out to the swimming pool. Obviously the master bedroom, they've actually got a door so you can get out there.
The master bedroom has a stunning panorama of the valley, but the view from my room is my favourite. The two glass walls with a view of the enclosed garden and swimming pool really creates the feeling of sleeping outdoors. More than 6 acres of the original 77-acre estate remain, along with a wealth of features from the original manor. Michael Manser integrated the stark modern materials of the new house beautifully, retaining a great sympathy for the neoclassical details. The single glazed ribbon of bronze-tinted glass surrounds the whole house, giving a breathtaking view from every angle. This is a house that has been designed for entertainment. As a weekend retreat, it has few peers. The pool, hot tub, and huge open space with concealed corners make it an oasis of peace.
The view of the house from here is spectacular, and it just sits so perfectly.
Yeah.
The new house sits atop the imposing balustrade and steps and shares the classical proportions of the orangery. Michael Manser has joined us for tea on the lawn. He fulfilled the requirements of a precise brief with a radical and unusual solution to the client's needs. I'm hoping he'll be able to tell me how he combined a modern pavilion so harmoniously into a traditional English rural landscape.
I think it's pretty nice for you, Gavin, to actually meet Michael. You haven't met Michael before, have you? So.
No, we've never met. We've spoken on the phone. You did a good job.
So, Michael, what were your memories from when you first saw the site here?
Well, we'd done a scheme, for a house over at Dewhurst, which was tucked behind a pub. And Maisie and John Howard, who owned it then, went down to look at the site one Saturday evening and were appalled. I guess it was all swinging, dancing and banging, and it would have been an impossible place to live. So she was a very gutsy lady. She set off to find a site now, especially for this house. And she suddenly came up with this site, and I couldn't believe it. It was a site you dream about. The potential was so fantastic, this sort of formal 19th century garden, the steps and the balustrade and the winter garden. And it seemed rather obvious. You put a pavilion on the axis, and on the other axis you put the swimming pool so they can run straight out of the bedroom. And with this, I was always a bit worried about, Philip Johnson's house in East Mander Road, they don't have any overhang in the front, and the sun in this climate ranges from 60 degrees to 26 degrees, and so you get full penetration in the winter, and you need to cut it back, and that metre overhang does that.
Because everyone assumes that in the summer it must be very, very hot. Like
it's not,
it's not. It's very cool.
But in the winter the light belts in, doesn't it? There's a weak sun, so it doesn't bleach everything.
It does a lot more than that, because you get these other advantages that you can kind of walk all the way around the house when it's raining, and it's it's kind of semi-enclosed space. It's a really good feature.
Well, that's what the dog does.
Yeah.
We send him out for a walk and he just walks around the perimeter all the time.
Michael, why has glass been so important to you in your buildings? Why were you so excited about it?
Because it's like living outside.
Right.
And your wallpaper becomes the scenery.
Michael had already made a reputation for himself as an innovator by the time he designed Capel Manor. His pioneering approach to the synthesis of uncompromising modernist buildings in a traditional setting made him one of the most respected architects of his generation.
So obviously, looking at this house, people such as Johnson were a big inspiration for you, and the glass house and things. Why were they such an inspiration for you, those sort of houses?
Well, architecture is all about geometry. Classical architecture is all about geometry and formality and regularity. When you go into a building, it's not the details you register, it's the shape and the size, the proportions, and throughout history they've been the same. All the great buildings have used various mathematical formula.
It's really good to hear you say that about the kind of classical
sort
of level to it, because that occurred to me that it was, it's quite a classical building.
What is 18th century architecture? What's now Georgian? It's all derived from Inigo Jones going to Italy, meeting Palladio, saying, "How are you?" And most impressed, and came back with a roll of his drawings.
For me, the late 1960s and early 70s are the high watermark of British modernism. Architects such as Michael and the high priests of high-tech, Richard Rogers and Norman Foster, took the modern movement in a new direction. While they took steel and glass construction to new levels, homes such as Capel Manor remind us of the joy of simple geometry. It's the epitome of elegance, its form reflecting and amplifying its function. I'm sure Mies van der Rohe would have loved it.
So what was it like coming back today? And I know you've seen the house recently, but how's it changed? Do you think it's improved?
I think it's looking better than it ever has. The gardening, the way they've done the planting, it's the site that makes it as good as it is, don't you think? In a way, it's pretty bog standard bit of modern architecture. It's an extraordinary site.
What better place to wake up on a Sunday morning? Having spent another peaceful night in the geometrically perfect pavilion, I can wander through the ruins for a dip.
Ah, fellow hot tubber. Hello. How are you?
I feel really at home in Capel Manor. It's the ultimate country retreat. Grace and beauty in abundance, and a tranquil, relaxing atmosphere. Nicola, Richard and Gabriel have to leave, and it's time for me to head for home too.
Really good to meet you. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
What a tremendous weekend. The 1970s have perhaps acquired an unfair reputation for irredeemable kitsch, but Capel Manor is a breath of fresh air. Even the shag-pile-lined conversation pit feels cool and stylish. I adore this English classic, a brilliant modern version of the country house